Wow, hi YouTube. I said a few days ago that I would do a film on a knife sharpener that I found, and I kind of think that this machine really is a knockoff of the Apex Pro, which is I think the real deal. Don't really like doing a review on a kind of knockoff product. I'm not absolutely sure on my facts, but that's my opinion. So the Apex Pro is the original. I'll put a link down below and you can check that out. I think this is a kind of variant of it. So the reason I'm doing a review on this and not on the Apex Pro is because there's a couple of things I really like about this against what I think is the original. The first one being that this is completely stainless steel in manufacture. So on that basis it's practically indestructible. You know, I'm not quite sure what you'd have to do to break it, but you'd have to go some. It goes together with standard components, kind of nuts and bolts and washers and things that are readily available, as opposed to specific sort of plastic castings that if you did manage to break one, you know, you'd be perhaps a little bit stuck. I can't think of a way in my head that you would break this stainless steel product. That's what I quite like about it. I'm going to drop in a few pictures and diagrams of the specifications of it, what all the parts are called, and all the rest of it. But very simply, over the years, you know, when I first started in the Scouts, I learnt to kind of sharpen a knife and an axe when I did my knife and axe badge as a kid. But I've never been one of these people that could put a razor sharp, you know, hair popping edge on a knife. I've always managed to touch it up in the field. I've always managed to have a sort of half decent edge to a knife. But like I say, I've never been one of these people that can sharpen a knife to sort of hair popping standards. And that's why I was really interested in this. The two things that I really like about it, one is that it's stainless steel and, like I say, practically indestructible. The other thing I really like about it is if you take it apart, it folds up quite small, and I'm thinking that I could actually put this in my kit and kind of take it out in the field with me, or, you know, on a long-term camp or trek maybe. So they're the two things that I like about this over what I think is the original. Very simply, you know, when you sharpen a knife, you sharpen a knife at X amount of degrees, and there are various schools of thought on the best angle for a knife. There's a certain angle for chopping blades, certain angle for cutting blades, certain angle for razors. But I've done a little bit of research, and the chap that invented the Apex Pro has had, you know, 20 or 30 years probably in the kind of knife industry, and he came up with something that I've bought into, which is he sort of said that the best angle for a knife, a working knife, is kind of 21 degrees, and he justifies that by saying that 21 degrees gives you the sharpest blade for the longest period of time, and that's how we came to that recommendation. And I've been playing with it over the last kind of week or so. I've got a couple of knives that I've had to reprofile to at about 21 degrees, and I have to turn around and say that I have really been impressed with them, you know. So I think I'm going to buy into that, and that's what I've set this little machine up to. Now the way you set this machine up is the post has a slider attached to it via a hinge, and obviously that gives you a descending angle. Now in the diagram you'll see that there's a direct correlation between how high you set the slider and what the angle is at the edge of the blade that you'll be sharpening. What I've done is I've bought myself an engineer's ruler, little stainless steel one, to go with the kit, and all you do is you kind of measure the distance from the kind of base or the shoulder to the top of the hinge, and however many millimeters that is, it corresponds with an angle. And as you can see on the chart, all you then do is you kind of wind that angle into the post and secure the bolts. Pretty straightforward really. But like I say, I've chosen as near as 21 degrees as I could set on this machine. The other thing I liked about this machine really was that it only came with 2 stones. So some of the variants of this product that I've seen have in excess of 4 stones. Well, very simply, you know, the 2 stones that I kind of chose were a 180 and a 1500, and they are the 2 stones that I chose. When I bought my kit, I also ordered 2 spare stones, because I kind of thought, you know, maybe if one of these gets kind of snapped or cracked if I drop my pack or something like that. So I ordered a couple of spare stones at the same time, and obviously I just sort of put those to one side. There's a little box that it came in. Just put those to one side, and there's my 2 stones, you know, ready for if and when I ever need them. The other thing the kit comes with is a couple of spare nuts and bolts, and also the instructions, and that's pretty much all that's in the box apart from the machine itself. So bring you in a little closer and I'll attach the stones and we can have a look at this little knife sharpening system. So I'll just give you some dimensions on it then. The whole thing is about 160mm long by 70mm wide. The stones are quite small. They're about 150mm long and about 20mm wide. So it's quite a small thing, and like I say, I like this little setup because it's stainless steel, and I think it will break down and even go in your pack quite nicely. So that's it really. It's got this kind of clamping device. It comes with an Allen key, so either you can slide the blade underneath here to retain it like that, or you can just use it as a butt and rest the knife up against it, and obviously this slides backwards and forwards so that you can adjust for the thickness of the knife that you're using. The stones attached to it really simply. So here's our first stone. All it does is sort of slides under the first shoulder, is picked up by the second one, and then all you do is adjust the nut to hold it in place. So that's as complicated as the fitting the stone is, and then all you do is you just do up that little nut. Okay, now what you do is you have to kind of set your handle. So I'll put it in the 90-degree position, so do the nut up at the end, and that's the machine pretty much ready to rock and roll. The other thing that I do is get a little bit of I'm using copper grease. You can use graphite, you can use good old-fashioned normal grease, but what I tend to do is just put a little dab of grease on the arm, just to ensure that it kind of floats backwards and forwards nice and smoothly. The other thing that you have to make sure when you set it up is that that the stone is in the middle of the sharpener and not on the outside. So that would be a kind of wrong position, and the right position is with the rod pretty much going down the centre of the machine, you know. So that's as complicated as setting it up is. So I guess the next thing we should do is just kind of confirm our angle. So again, you know, I'm using an engineering ruler. I'm taking it from the shoulder to the bottom of this block. Now the bottom of this block is pretty much level with the bottom of the stone, and however many millimeters that is, that corresponds to a set angle. And if you have a look at the scale, which is a still photograph, you'll see that that is set. Whichever stone I'm not using, I tend to just leave in a little pot of water and put it to one side so that it's got water on it for when I want to use it next. Okay, so I think I'm just about there. What I'm doing is just running my fingernail down the back of the blade, and as I get to the very tip I can feel a burr, and all I'm trying to do is to ensure that the burr runs the complete length of the blade. Okay, once we've got that burr, now what I'm going to do is only sharpen on the forward stroke. And you notice I'm going from left to right on the blade, and there's a reason for that we'll come to shortly. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is sort of turn it over in the knife sharpener and start reprofiling the other side of the blade. Okay, here we go again. Keep going on this side of the blade until the same again. You can run your fingernail down the back of the blade and feel a burr. You don't need a spanner, it's just my sort of personal preference. You know, you could do these up finger tight, just as long as they don't slide out is all that's actually required. So I've kept the other stone in the water all the time we've been working with the first one, and I've literally just swapped them over. You know, so I try to keep a stone, when I'm sharpening my knives, I try to keep a stone in the water all the time, and it's just ready to use if you need it. This is a 10mm little nut if you decide to use a spanner. A couple of little, the bolts underneath the Allen keys are 14mm, and the little nut on the slider is 10mm. Just like we did before, the complete length of the blade until we get a burr on the back of the knife that we can feel with our fingernail. So as we go over the knife with the new stone, the last stone, the coarse stone, we went from left to right. Now we're going to go from right to left, and what we're actually going to do is start to polish the edge, and as you polish it with the finer stone, so you should be able to see it. Okay, so I did both sides with the fine stone until I had the burr. And then what I did was I just started to kind of strop the blade on my leather strop, you know, and I'm literally just using the weight of the knife and no more than that really. Just taking off those kind of micro burrs, you know, those microscopic burrs on the blade is really all you're trying to do. There's kind of two types of blade, so you can have a very smooth soft blade, or you can have a kind of serrated blade. Slightly serrated, you know, is great for cutting meat, for example, you know, food, small game, that sort of stuff, whereas obviously a smooth blade is what we use to do our paper cuts and kind of super fine work. But that's it, pretty much finished really. I've used the knife sharpening kind of tool throughout. I haven't used anything else to talk of. I really like it. I know, like I say, this is probably not the original. I like the size of it. I like the fact that it's made of stainless steel. I like the fact that I can sort of fold it up, put it in in my pack. You know, I'll probably make a little pouch for it, you know, drawer cord sack like I do. But absolutely love it. The fact that it's only got 2 stones, I think that's good as well. You know, 4 stones starts getting a little bit complicated and starts to take forever. You know, at the end of the day, what we need is a working knife. So Let's just do a few chores and see how sharp this knife really is. So I've never been brilliant at sharpening a knife. I could probably hold an edge on a knife, but I certainly couldn't get one, you know, hair-poppingly sharp. You know, this is probably the sharpest knife I've ever sharpened. Let's do some other jobs with it. It's got to be that time. Let's get some lunch on. service. Well, that's Roach's knife sharpening with a bit of a twist. We've got to be able to do more with a knife, you know, than make feather sticks, chop wood, you know, all those sort of things. You know, what you've got to be able to do is everything with a knife. You know, if you're only going to have one knife with you, chances are you're going to spend most of your time cooking food. Cheers, people. This is where I ask you to thumbs up, share, like, subscribe, and if you're watching on Facebook, please follow. As always, any comments? Love to hear them. Back soon.